Hello everyone, Cheryl here with Shawn Petite's creative team. It is my pleasure to create for you a little inspiration piece called Beauty for Ashes. My inspiration for this piece was the 2 new stencils that I received from Shawn. Also, I had been looking at inspiration boards, so when I was going through some of my stuff, I saw this and I thought, yep, I know what I'm going to do. The stencils that I'm using are Dictionary Page and also Paris Flourish 1. The substrate that I'm using is a cradle board that I was practicing hand-cut stencil on a while back, and it just got laid aside, so I decided I'm going to do my mini inspiration board and cover it with collage. I love the collage process so much, so sometimes I just mess around with the papers as far as placement goes, but usually I just start, after I do that a little bit, I just start pasting. All of the papers that you see that have florals are papers that I just randomly used up leftover paint on and just keep in my stash. So sometimes when I do collage, I just use my own artwork, and I decided those little flowers up at the top there was going to be my main focal point. Starting to lay down the papers. The collage process is so meditative for me. I just get lost in it and whatever's going on at the time or in the moment. I just, take time to reflect on things that are happening. And so it's very enjoyable. So that's what I'm doing here. I also decided that I wanted to wrap the collage around the sides because sides matter. Continuing the collage process, I'm using either original art on vintage book pages, or in some cases I've copied and made a photograph of my art to use. It seems like Lily Bell has to make an appearance. It's like whenever I sit down at my art desk, she's like, what are you doing? I want to know. Some of that little artwork, flowers that I've done on the vintage book pages is so old that it's crinkly, but I actually love that about it. There's something about using the vintage, just the vintage paper, the feel of it, just the patina, the aging, it's awesome. I love it. And that last piece that I'm going to put down in the corner is actually a page out of a magazine. If I'm flipping through a magazine and I just love the image, I just save it. This piece of art is with the 4 little flowers. I actually did that in pastel on top of a vintage photo cover of my grandmother, like back in 1920. It was so cool. I loved it. Sometimes when I get done with a piece of art, I'll just take a stencil, in this particular case little dots, and just stencil on top of a book page and then just save it as a filler. I like the way collage peeks through when you get to the end of the finished piece. Continuing to glue down those vintage pieces of art and wrap the sides, and then adding just a little, I wanted to cover up all the aqua, so some little bits and bobs, little pieces. Adding some tissue from a pattern piece. I love the numbers and the transparency of it. finished with the first layer, which is the collage. The sides are all finished as well. I'm going to be using as the focal point those little flowers up at the top. First, I'm going to use some craft paint that is in the basic color scheme, just to kind of tie everything together and cover up a little bit of the collage so that when I draw the flowers on it, they're going to show up, and when I use the dictionary page stencil, that's going to be the focus. I also added some white fluid acrylic. I love the way the fluid acrylics give it an ethereal look. And I also added some white gesso because that covers a little better for the areas that you don't want to show up as much. And right where I'm going to be putting the dictionary page stencil, I wanted it to be a little lighter. The Paris Flourish 1 stencil comes with a large flourish and also a smaller one. So here I'm using the larger one to cover over the collage partly. I love it. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful stencil. I finished stenciling with the Paris Flourish. Then I wanted to check the position of the dictionary page. And now I'm sketching in the flowers, mimicking the ones that are at the top with a Neocolor 2 water-soluble crayon. I just got these and oh my gosh, I love them so much. They are activated so easily with water. You can see that I'm activating it a little bit, and you can just layer them so nicely. It just turns out so pretty. Started off using my soft pastels, which is what I used on the original artwork. It just starts the dance, and you keep using this and that until you get it how you like it. When you're a leafy love person, you have to add some little leafies, and I'm using a charcoal pencil just to add a little bit more definition at this point before I decide what I'm going to do next. At this point, I'm totally playing with the Neocolor 2 water-soluble crayons. I'm obsessed. I mean, they're just so versatile. It gives such a light, airy, lovely look to the background, and you can still see the stencil underneath and the collage underneath that. So it's just, I'm really, 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 really enjoying this part. Experimenting with the darker colors just to give some shading behind the actual flowers. It did not disappoint at all. The vibrancy of the Neocolor 2 crayons is just outstanding. I just really, really love it. I'm using the white Neocolor crayon here. I want to get that area a little whiter so that when I stencil the dictionary page on top of it, it's going to show up a little better. Moving on to green, because it just wouldn't be right not to add some green. And what about the two-handed? I got the crayon in the left hand and the paintbrush in the right hand, and I was so enjoying this. It was just awesome. Adding a few splatters here and there. Splatters always add to the background, to the texture, I just love splatters. I'm giving the flowers some more definition, some more color, and I have found that the more you walk away from it and come back to it and use lots of different colors at different stages and different layering that it just really gives a lot of depth to the flowers. And I know I work on them a lot, but you know what? It's so enjoyable. And if one color doesn't work, if you're using a water-soluble crayon, hey, go on ahead and put another color on top of that and see what happens. For instance, I thought I would try some bright yellow, and I end up, putting some stuff over top of it, but it just adds another layer, and it adds the more color and layers that you can get on your flowers or your image, the better it's going to be in the long run. On the leaves, I went ahead and put a green at the bottom and a little touch of aqua at the top, and then I added the water, and it really did turn out. You can't really see it as well in the video, but up close it just looks so cute. The little green and the blue just blending together so well. I'm adding some pan pastel because I love the versatility of pastels in any form. You can wet them, you can do anything with a pastel, even treat it like a watercolor. But the pan pastels are they can be thick or they can be transparent, and I wasn't just happy yet with the flowers, so I added some pan pastel and then I moved on from there, as you'll see. I redefined my edges with the charcoal pencil again because they got too rubbed out. So then I'm going to add my color on top of this. It really is all about experimenting. I'm using just a cheap little translucent craft paint that I got somewhere. Anyway, I just love it. I love the color of it. So here is my next step in the process, and believe it or not, you can still see all the little experimentation and layers that you had before. I have a set of General's pastel pencils, which are really nice. They come in a variety of colors. I think I have a pack of 12, and I just used various ones because it's nice. I love pastels, and it gives you a nice fine point that you can use. Adding some dark lines on the flowers with a fine liner. I'm not going to outline them all totally, but just use like a little sketchy approach so that it doesn't look like a total illustration type. Pan pastels are so awesome for any kind of shading, whether it's highlight shading or dark shading, any kind of shading. It's just great for, and even highlights on the flowers. It's great. More splatters with that beautiful color. I just love that color, and I probably wouldn't be able to get that exact paint again, but man, I just really like it. I love to go back and add some tiny white details with a white Posca pen, which is what I'm doing right here. I'm adding the dictionary page stencil. This took a little bit of time, but it was worth it. I love what it says, and this is again a versatile stencil. You could use this as background over top of a collage where you didn't actually have it as your focal point. But I'm using a makeup brush with ink pad so that I can get in all of those tiny little letter spots, and I like it. I like the way it turned out. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, And I hope you will like and subscribe to Shawn's YouTube channel. It's been such a pleasure to be a part of her creative team for this year. Thank you, guys.